Hello.
I know, I'm over here.
I know, it's like just dancing. Welcome to the very first Tuesday Creators Talks. I am absolutely super excited to have this panel together. They are both very good friends of mine, which should make this really interesting. I'm sure they have stories from, Heather is my co-facilitator for this, and Heather Workman is just one of those phenomenal people. She's a shaman, oracle, energy worker, and just gorgeous human being. And Sam Castle is probably has one of the best stories I've ever had, I've ever heard, I've ever had. Yes, I had your story. I have never had Sam. Just for the record. And that's where this is going to start. Woo! Wow.
Nor have I.
I've never had Jeff either.
Right. You know, Sam is happily married. His wife will probably beat my ass if I ever tried. So, I'll try and stay away from that. You never know.
We're accepting applications.
Oh,
good to know.
Awesome.
Good to know.
No, it's all love here. It's all good.
It is. It really is. This is what happens when good friends get together. We're going to have an amazing conversation and around identity today. And what I want to do first is what I'd really like is for Heather to start and kind of introduce herself, because I kind of gave a basic overview, but she's got to be much better at that than I am. And then Sam.
Hi, gorgeous beings. How's everyone today? Sorry, my throat. I've been sick for a while. My throat is kind of scratchy. I don't normally sound this raspy, but I'm like you said, I'm a shaman. I do energy medicine. So I spent years doing Western medicine and decided that I wanted to do something different and help people on a different level. So I became a shaman, and I work with your chakras, and I help amazing individuals release all of their energetic trauma and baggage so that they can open up to who they truly are and how they want to live their life. So and I love what I do. It's a superpower. I love it. And I'm so blessed to be doing this. Jeff and I are really good friends, and we've been kind of talking about what we were going to cohort to do together, and this is where it begins.
Her in I wrangled her in at the last minute. I had graphics already done, and she's like, "Remember that thing that we were going to do?" I think
well, because he kept going, "I want you to be a regular. How often can I get you on the show?" And I was like, "Would you like me to just co-host with you?" Yes, I would. Yes, that's what I want.
That's really what I wanted to begin with. But I was going to settle for regular. I was going to settle because she's so amazing. I would settle for just having her on briefly if I had to. But we are fortunate enough to be able to have her full time here with us in the creative process. And like I said, Sam is such an amazing person. Introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about your journey.
Oh, man. Well, my journey is actually what brought me here. I'm Sam, Coach Sam of the Be You Do You movement, where you don't need permission to be who you are. My journey pretty much started with just trying to figure out who I was, who I am, who I want to be, what that looks like. And I was running away from my calling for a long time, coach, counselor, but it caught up with me because I feel like through my own journey experience, I could help other people be exactly who they want to be. And you can't be who you want to be worrying about other people and their opinions. And that's what I've learned on this journey, and that's what I've been learning. And that's pretty much how Be You Do You became about, because I'm constantly that every single day, like reminding myself, just be who you are. People are going to love and accept you for who you are, not who you're trying to be.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Because it goes right along with my message of other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, I have a long. I mean, do you really want to hear the story? It's
Well, you know what? I think that let me ask this first question because I
okay.
think
Okay.
that your story is going to
Okay.
fit right into that question. Um,
Cool.
so you guys, you all know this is a brand new format. If you're watching this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing on amazing people like Sam and really just having a discussion around one topic, which is kind of unusual for us. You know,
Right.
normally I'm just free forming and good. Today we're talking about identity, and there is no one better here to talk about identity than Sam, honestly. Um, and the first question we have is how can we begin to peel back the layers of our identity to uncover our true selves?
That's a big question.
It's a big
Yeah.
question, isn't it? And it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So who
Well,
wants
for
to
me,
tackle it first?
Heather, you want to go first?
Well, for me, it was um, not getting away from identifying as just a mom, right? Being able to describe myself without saying, I'm a medical assistant and an instructor and a single mom. And like, that's not who I am. That is the things that I have done.
Mhm.
And finding out who I was outside of all the trauma that I was carrying around with me. And so that's where my journey started was to heal myself and do it in a way that at the end of it, I'd be able to help other people to do the same. Because I was already mentoring people and my students, I was an instructor, I was teaching medical assisting, I was teaching them about their life and what, how to let go of that. And so to step into myself and all of this, all this big energy, not being ashamed of my big energy. I
Mhm.
used to try to shrink myself all the time, blend in the background, and I just don't do that anymore. I'm going to change the energy when I walk in a room and I'm going to raise the vibration. And either you're going to raise to it or you're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to leave. And I don't care either way. And that's what I help other people do now too is be unapologetically themselves because I'm
Yeah.
fucking fantastic.
You definitely are. You definitely are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, how about you?
So that falls on the line of the whole "Be You Do You" movement, helping people be who they are. But my journey literally started about 5 years ago, I would say, where I went to jail for the last time in 2017 over a domestic dispute. And I really had to ask myself, why was I so angry? Why was I so angry? Why was I responding the way that was responding? Why was I showing up the way that I was showing up? And a lot of it had to do with my childhood trauma. Not feeling supported around my gender identity, my orientation, not fully having that support system from my mom. My dad was out there addicted to drugs. So I grew up in a single parent household, the oldest of three, literally had to navigate who I was by myself. So I had a lot of rage, I had a lot of frustration, I had a lot of anger that I was holding on to. And so in that situation that happened in 2017, I came to this point where my desire to change was greater than what I felt people were going to think about me if I took the leap of faith and transitioned like I always wanted to do at a very young age. So a year later, I jumped. I I transitioned from I was born biologically female. I transitioned from female to male because I wanted to live the rest of my life happy, complete and whole as a male, and that's what I'm doing now. And I haven't looked back ever since. And that's what I want to encourage, other people to do. Like, choose you. At the end of the day, this is your life. You get to create the life that you want. You get to create the path that you want. Um, and it also, like, I reconnected spiritually as well. Like, I reconnected with my faith. I transitioned. I got married in 2019, bought my first house with my wife. Like, we did all of this healing. That's pretty much how we started. Like, we started healing. We started choosing ourselves first versus what everybody else wanted for us.
Yeah.
And I'm here now.
That's so powerful. So powerful. You know, for me, it was, I came out when I was 18. So my whole adult life, I've been pretty much out.
Yeah.
But there's been times when I've been more comfortable and times when I'm not, you know,
Right.
and I realize that it goes in cycles sometimes. And right now I'm in a cycle of full self acceptance, which is
Yeah.
interesting because my language changed a little bit. If you noticed, if you've been following along my socials, it's kind of changing a little bit. Um, I've avoided working with gay men for a long time, although I
Mm.
know I've been told I need to work with gay men for 2 years that Heather knows me, you know, 2 years that Heather can like attest to, kind of constantly,
I mean, you know,
and even longer than that. And so I've been slowly but surely accepting that that's where I need to go, and really starting to actually be comfortable saying things like, you know, let's talk about hookup culture, and let's talk about, you know, um, the drama that is caused in the scene and how that's all such a mess. And it's been a real big challenge for me, especially lately, because for like 4 years, not that I was ever in the closet, you know, I talked about having a boyfriend, I talked about things like that, but it just wasn't, I wasn't talking about real issues, I guess. I wasn't talking about hooking up and how empty and stuff and the sexual addiction that went along with that, and the different things around that.
Yeah.
It's a really different conversation. So yeah,
yeah, it
it's
was so freeing for me when I started talking about my healing process and the numbing, right? Because like, what did you do to numb? And everyone has something. If you, you know, if you've been through trauma, and everyone has something. And I always say that I'm the number of all numbers. You know, I am the addict of all addicts because it was just the idea of numbing. It didn't matter what it was. It
Mm.
didn't. I used it all. Sex, drugs, alcohol, um, you know, food, all of it. I've used it all. And to be open about it and say, you're not the only one is such a freeing thing to be able to tell people you're not the only one. And my journey actually started a little bit before, but in 2018 it was the big one for me where I started going to addiction therapy
Mm.
and patterning, like when I used and how I used and how unkind I was to myself. And I think that was the big one for me was like I was so unkind to myself. And
Yep.
how could I be so kind to others and understanding and not do that for myself? And now I dance with all of that. I dance with my shadows. I dance with my, you know, I always say dance with those skeletons in your closet and bring them to light because that's the way to, you know, really accept yourself for who you are, all of you, all the
Mm.
messy parts, all the dirty parts, everything.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I think a lot for me too is that I also got back into therapy, which was a huge um, helpful tools. And then I also hired a life coach. So just in hiring a life coach just shifted my mindset completely. And then it helped me even uncover even more of who I was, helped me learn about my beliefs and values because I didn't even know what my values were. You know, growing up, that wasn't a thing. We didn't talk about values and beliefs. It was you see your parents do something and you think that's what you're supposed to do. And then you get older,
Yeah.
I just started questioning stuff like this doesn't seem right, at least for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so just learning my belief system and my values has helped me navigate um, through who I want, who I'm being and becoming. Like now I'm able to recognize, you know, things are clearer now than before.
Yeah, that was huge for me too, actually.
Yeah.
Was I grew up in a house where there was no real belief system,
Right.
and so we didn't have any faith, any belief. Like my parents never talked about theirs, even through my mom having cancer. There was no like God's gonna heal, whatever the case may be. And I always said, you have to believe in something. Everyone needs to believe in something. I still say that.
Right.
And then I looked at it and I'm like, I don't, what do I believe in? Like, where is my belief system? What is it truly that, what's my ritual? I know I don't believe in these things, but saying you don't believe in something doesn't give you a belief system either. Right. And so
Right.
finding that is super important, which I encourage, my clients all the time to do that as well.
Yeah, it's really definitely one of the things I talk about in my program is I call it making peace with source, right?
Mm.
Making peace with
Yeah.
whatever it is. Because a lot of times, which is funny because I want Sam to talk a little bit about this too. I grew up in the church. So
Yeah.
I, I was going to church 4 times a week and I was winning preaching competitions and I got a full ride scholarship to a big Baptist university and all these things kind of happen. Right. And even before I knew I was gay, we got a new pastor that went and did the hell and fire and brimstone speech. And if you guys haven't heard it, I'm sure you watch any, documentary on gay anything. And it was that speech. Like it's kind of universal. Change a word here or there, but really, truly, it's God hates fags. And what I knew, it wasn't that I was gay or what he was saying, because I was gay. It was because you can't say that from there.
Mm.
You can't say that from that space of love and what I knew God to be, right? And I've shifted what I believe God is at this point, and I've done a lot of work since from there to here to come to terms with something that I can be comfortable with. And Rainn Wilson did talked about this on Soul Pancake like quite a few years ago now. His journey, and it was interesting because he said in one of the cultures they called him Harold, like they kept calling, like an author would call their higher power Harold, and he goes, I can worship Harold. I can't worship God. You know what I mean? And just so it was just once he started like hearing that, and so it was very interesting for me to come up with that where my belief systems are. You guys all know you guys don't all know. This is the new show. I am a licensed Jedi cleric, so I believe in a universal energy that flows to us and through us, and that constitutes who we are and what we are, which makes us all God. And so, I mean, so it just has that whole kind of different turn, and being able to say I'm not Christian
Mm.
in my family was a huge. I got my ordination, and my parents were like, and my mom, I said, well, Mom, I'm not Christian. I don't believe there's a heaven. And she goes, you're not Christian? And I'm like, I've been like, I'm licensed minister at this point in something else. No, I'm not, but thank you. So, and I think people make fun of it because it's Judaism, but I could have just as easily gone to uni and been ordained there. It's kind of the same kind of thing, although Unity tends to use more, it's a metaphysical version of Christianity, I feel, when I actually looked into it more. And this is more into Buddhist, Hinduism, Eastern religion more. I could have went and been a monk. I still might go and be a monk.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. I totally could see that too.
Yeah.
It's very, if for any reason that I lose my dogs, then I will probably go to Thailand or something and go and study at temple. somewhere.
I'll come visit you.
You can definitely would. So Sam, talk to me a little bit about, because on the other side of that, Sam is Christian, and I know that. So,
I'm a man of faith.
yes, and you are
Even, even that verbiage is changing. Like you
okay.
said, the more that I learn about spiritual laws and the way that life works, I too believe that I am a God. No, I did not create the heavens and the earth, but I am a creator created by the creator. Therefore, I can create too, which includes my own reality and my experiences. So, yes,
I love that.
I'm right on the lines of what you were speaking about.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting for me because I know that I've been to churches that were very accepting. Like throughout the years now, I've kind of been able to re-experience church. I worked in a spiritual life center, which was a unity based organ center, which does lead me right here. I would not be here if it wasn't for there. Someone, the very first
Yeah.
time I walked into the church, into the center, um, the pastor said, "You're perfect, whole, and complete, just as you are."
That's your favorite saying.
And there's a reason, because in that moment,
Yeah.
now in that moment, of course, when you hear it, you're like, no, I'm not, blah, 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 blah. And all this stuff runs. And then he went through the rest of the conversation. And by the end of the conversation, I thought, okay, maybe. Now, I wasn't convinced by any means necessary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having gone back and done more work and done more things, definitely, I truly believe that we're all perfect, whole, and complete. Now, there's things about us, there's actions that may be changing, um, actions, beliefs, things that we may need to move, but
Right.
as a whole, we're perfect.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Let's start there, and then we'll talk.
Yeah. I love the concept of just having faith because my sister always says it. I love this because she says, I believe in God. I just don't think he was a single parent. Right. Because in energy work, there's always a masculine and a feminine. There's,
Mhm.
we that. We know that. You could scientifically, we know that, right. And so and so that I always call upon both. There's never a time of because there is that, you have to have both in order for it to um for anything to happen, for there to be magnetism, the energy flow, everything has a masculine and feminine side to it. And so um but I don't have any one belief system. And in all honesty, I say all the time, there is truth in every belief system. And if you just when you take away man's bastardization of it, they're all the same message. If you look at any religion, when you take man out of it and you look at the basic principles of anything, it's don't be an asshole. Don't steal from each other. Be a good person. I mean, it's all the same basic
And
message, even in Wicca, paganism,
Buddhism.
all of those things. And
Cricket.
so, yeah, it's, yeah,
I
and
believe
I've
every
watched my friends. I'm lucky as a cis female that I have not had to experience those things, but I have watched very close people. One of my best friends is gay, and she was raised Catholic,
Mhm.
and she married a man. She married two men, and when she was younger, and she went through the whole thing and questioning her faith and how can I believe in this God who does not, have this belief system that doesn't agree with who I am as an individual, and stuff. And it's beautiful because now her and her wife are ministers. That's the one church that I have no issue when they say, come to church with us because
Yeah.
it's always such a beautiful message because it is very, open to everyone because everyone in that church is welcome. And it's a beautiful thing, it's beautiful to watch that those people can go and find their faith in something that um, in other places they're not welcome. Which, how do you believe in any God that doesn't believe that? How do people believe in a God that would damn who he made? Right? Like, how do you?
It makes sense. Yeah.
Right?
And that's why I say it's an individual journey. Like I had to get to that point where I had the faith and belief that God loves me
Yeah,
regardless,
yeah.
because they
It's
do.
your personal connection.
It's a personal connection. It's
Yeah,
an intimate relationship. My relationship's not going to look like yours and vice versa. Like I really had to get to that point where I made peace with it. And this literally happened in 2018. My wife and I,
beautiful.
we found a church home. I reconnected with my faith. And that even looked like I had to release all the shame, all the guilt, because I too, at one point, believed what my mom told me at the age of 18. I'm not going to let your soul go to hell. That's what she told me. And I held on
Mm,
all the way into my 30s, which was a huge part of why I waited to transition. Because I'm like, well, damn, if this is what she says when I come out as a lesbian, there's no way in hell I could say, well, mom, by the way, I don't even feel like this. So I carried that into my 30s until I realized I didn't want to carry it anymore.
What was
yeah.
that like for you in that, like, I know what it was like to come out, right? And it was, and I came out in the 90s, so right before Will and Grace. I'm a pre Will and Grace gay. So, and there
Yeah.
was a difference after Will and Grace,
And that was my
things
time
started.
frame too, of where, you did it. There was like one token gay guy at school that
Mhm.
he couldn't hide that he was gay, but no one talked about the fact that he was gay,
Yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine came out, one of my other best friends came out to me in our late 20s. And I remember when he told me, I go, okay. He goes, what do you mean, okay? And I
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
okay. And he goes, well, did you ever wonder? And I said,
No.
sort of, but I don't care. Like, I don't think of you any different, love you any different. He goes, well, if you question it, why didn't you? Because back then you wouldn't have, you just didn't,
Yeah.
it was taboo still. It was very, we're Gen Xers. We come from a generation that it was still very taboo to be that way.
Mhm.
And I just said, well, I don't love you any different. I don't think of you any different.
Yeah, I
And he
think
was
that's part of it.
relieved by it. He was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I think part of that was definitely because AIDS just happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We just had McCurricombe, like literally, we're just now getting, we
yeah.
just now got like any kind of research and knew how it actually happened. And, you were afraid to have sex and you were, um, it was a very different, um, very, very different than it is today. Let me tell you.
Right.
Well, yeah, because it was, I know people that had the mindset that if you were gay, you didn't want to drink after them. You didn't
Yep.
want to be in the same room. Are they checking you out? They're going to hit on you? Every gay man was a pedophile or what, that stigma that, held a lot of people back. And
Right.
My uncle
I'm
was
like, the
afraid
gay
that I
men
was
are
going
not
to
the
be
ones you have to worry about.
They're
right.
not.
But coming out as trans, and like really going into your full self.
Mhm.
What was that like in that, from a societal factor, like the people around you? What was it, what was some of the things that you went through for that?
Well, it goes back to what Heather said. In my household, we didn't talk about it. So I literally had to suppress that part of who I was. I knew at a very young age, at 6 or 7 years old, I just innately knew I am not a girl. And I didn't have the language for it, of course, at that time. I just knew I was a boy. And then when I started, of course, developing, I'm like, oh shit, I'm not a boy. I was really hurt by that and like really caught off guard. But I didn't have any type of support system. I didn't have anyone to go to talk about that because again, we didn't talk about that in my household. I grew up in the church as well. So again, my mom had this belief that my soul was going to go to hell. So I held on to that. And like I said, I didn't come out to her until I was 18, but I came out as lesbian because that was the closest that I could identify to who I felt I was. And again, it took me so long to decide to transition and to live my life fully and as authentic as myself because I feared losing my family. I thought it was too late. Like I was so worried about what other people were going to think. Forget how I was feeling. I was more concerned about my family, my friends. How are they going to respond to me? Until I got to that point where that didn't matter. Like my happiness mattered more than what people were going to think about me. And I was willing to risk that. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I took that leap because if I didn't, I don't even know where I'd be today. Probably wouldn't be here.
Well, we're glad you did too.
Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, it was a challenge because like I said, I went at it alone, which is why I'm really big on helping other people, navigate their transition and being the support that I didn't have. Because I want people to know it's okay to be who you want to be. Like, I feel like that's the highest to God conscious that you can get. Like, is to be yourself. That's what God wants. And I didn't want to die. Like, if there's truly a God, I believe there's a God. I believe there's something bigger than us. I did not want to die and then God asked me, why didn't you live your life? Why were you so concerned about what other people?
Ooh, that's so powerful.
I have that kind of faith that if I were to die and God told me that, like I would feel so shitty. Like if God asked me that, like, why didn't you live your life? Why? Like that's what I didn't want to get to. So I'm living my life.
That's such a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Ooh, that like
I was trying to put it into a banner. I'm like, I can't even type it. It's not even working.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to die and God asked me like why I didn't live full out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're put here for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. I totally, I absolutely believe that. I talk about that a lot in my lives and in helping other people. Is we sign up for this in some way, and we come here for a purpose, and that does not mean that your purpose is to change the world. Not everyone is meant to do that,
Right.
or to walk the path that we're walking. So I don't want anyone listening to this to think that that's what I'm saying, but like we're here to learn and evolve and grow as individuals, and we're individuals for a reason.
Yeah.
We are here for a reason, whatever that personal reason is. So yeah, I mean and gosh, I never thought about it that way. Like what of course that would be a question that would like, why didn't you live your life? Why didn't you do what was true to yourself? Because at the end of the day, we have to live with ourselves the longest.
Every day.
Every day.
Day.
If people are going to come and go in your life, if you don't like yourself, then like, I always say I like me some me. Because I got to spend the most time with me.
Yeah.
If you don't like you, then and you're not comfortable with you, then what are you doing? Because you spend the most time with yourself.
Yeah. I feel like we're all here for a reason, big or small. And that's why I've gotten to the point where I'm able to honor everybody's experiences, whether they agree with me or not, because that's their experience. I'm not here to police your experience, and I don't want my experience policed either.
Yeah, I talk about this. I talk about this a lot with Chick-fil-A. It's a really good, easy one for me to like talk about, right? I'm not going to eat there. I'm going to tell people why I don't eat there and let
Right.
them make their own choices. Right now, they have done some good. Don't get me wrong. Like one of the things that they did, which I can't imagine having run restaurants, corporate restaurants, they opened on a Sunday to make sandwiches for the people at polls.
Okay. That was a
So
good deed.
it was a good deed. Getting it done, how the fuck they got it done, I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he has a very strong belief and he has a very strong faith. He has a strong enough faith that he closes on Sundays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Closes a restaurant on one of the busiest days because his belief says that's what we're going to do.
That
Right?
you rest on that day. Yeah.
That you rest on that day.
And you
I
worship on that day.
Yeah.
right.
Because that's really what it's about, right? It's not because they don't really rest on that day. They worship on that day. There's a
It's
difference,
yeah, it's about
Yeah.
connecting the spirit and having that day, you know. So if you're going to have that kind of faith, I wouldn't want someone to tell me that I couldn't do it, right?
Right.
Where to spend
Right.
my money. Okay, I just personally, even I also don't fund political campaigns on either side
Yeah. Me
for that
either.
reason,
Yeah, no,
right?
neither do I.
Because I don't want I want to make good in the world, and I do fun things like animals, and I have done Red Cross, and I've done a whole bunch of other ones, you know. But
Right.
I'm not. That's not where I'm going to spend my extra money, right? I've campaigned,
Yeah.
I've spent time there. I just haven't spent money there for that reason. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day,
But your time is money.
well, my time is money, but it's also I'm also campaigning for people that I believe are not trying to persecute other people.
Mm.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the
Yeah.
day, that's my biggest problem. Like, try to actually not persecute people. At the end of the day, try to love on each
Right.
other. You
Yeah.
know, try to
Yeah.
have a conversation. I think one of the
I feel like
first.
if it's not doing me any harm or my neighbor any harm, it goes back to those the spiritual principles that we said each religion encompasses. Like to do your neighbor no harm. As long as I'm not doing anyone any harm or myself any harm, and even if I am doing myself harm, that's something I'm choosing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
that's
it's a
that's how I
different it's a different mentality. Yeah. So like I said,
yeah.
they're an easy one. They're easy target, right, for me because obviously actually, if you guys don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but they actually fund anti-gay bills, like
They do.
Yeah.
actively do
But
things
I really
to,
like their food though. You know, like I'm not I like Chick-fil-A though.
and it's your choice, but that's where your money's going.
Well, I haven't
Okay,
been there in a while. I'm just saying, you know, yeah.
I got
I
it.
don't
I have had Chick-fil-A. Don't get me wrong. I've ate it. It's good. They have a really great honey mustard that, like,
yeah.
literally, if I could buy the honey mustard and if I knew what the
And drink
recipe
it.
was,
Right. I
right?
just say, yeah, I had their like pimento. It was not my money, by the way, but um, their pimento spicy sandwich was really good, just for the
Right.
record. But
Like,
no, but I totally agree. I mean, it's the same concept as for a long time. When my dad was alive, he wouldn't shop at Walmart because they weren't union, and he was a
mhm,
huge union guy. It's that same, not as extreme. Don't get me wrong, but that same
no,
concept of, where you spend. Yeah, yeah,
but that is the same concept, and it's the same, and
yeah,
pretty much the same reason. They're spending money, actively spending money to go against union at one point. They've
right.
changed that. The most actually Walmart is union, and I think now. Um,
Yeah. I get
Right,
what
and
you're saying.
but back when it wasn't, but my dad was a big union guy, and so he was
right,
like fair wages, union. And I
it,
live in I live in Vegas. So we are a big union town. There's a culinary
mhm.
union. If work at a restaurant or a casino, you're in the culinary union and stuff. So we're a very union oriented place.
Yeah. So
So
I think that it's really important, and that goes back to our belief systems. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And part of our identity, to be very clear about who we are, our beliefs are
Mhm.
very important in that. Understanding
Yeah.
what our beliefs are and kind of
yeah.
what how much of identifying how important was identifying your beliefs to understanding who you are and crafting your identity? Do you believe we craft our identity, or do you think it just happens?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I definitely think we create it. We craft it just like we do everything else.
I was reading a question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I know. I just was too. I've
Um,
heard that as well, actually.
I feel
I
like,
know I never researched that statement, so I don't know. For those of
yeah,
you who can't read it, it said that Jimmy John's, the owner, hunts trophy big game, rhinos, elephants, lions, things like that. I have heard that before, but um, yeah, I've never researched it, so I don't know enough about that to speak on it.
I
Just to
mean, but
throw
if
that
you
out there.
really think about it, can you imagine? Like, we don't really know at the end of the day where our money is going to.
Right.
No,
So,
no matter where you shop, you
no
don't.
matter where
That
you
is very
shop.
true.
So it's
Yeah,
like, are you gonna starve yourself, or are you gonna get yourself something to eat?
right.
You know,
Or
it's
just
about doing the active things. You know what I mean? Like, are they going and doing bills to, you know, are they supplying? Are they funding a big game reserve? You know, or is
Right.
the one guy an asshole going out and shooting what I would call an asshole, going out and shooting big game? You know what I mean? There's a difference, I
Right.
think, sometimes.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and then I don't know. For me, I just don't want to give into that whole like, because I feel like the media tries to keep us all in fear anyway. So
Yeah, so that's the other side of that, I think too.
that's the
That
other.
I was gonna say that too, Sam, of like,
Yeah,
at what point do you just follow your heart and quit feeding into what you're being told about things all of the time? And that goes back to faith, and that goes back to being who you are, and being, comfortable with just who you are as an individual and your identity of, I don't watch the news.
me
I
either.
don't watch the news. I'm not political. I have friends who get like upset with me because I'm so not political. I have literally called my friends and go, "Who are we voting for right now?" Because I don't know anything about
Right.
anyone. Like, who is it that you support, that because of those same things, of those issues of, who is gay friendly, who is the one that is for people, who is, not going to go against my friend's actual rights, because to be honest, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me a whole lot.
Right.
And I say that as a straight female. So I literally called my best friend and said, "Who are we voting for right now?" And I'm sure this is going to piss someone off listening to this podcast. But the reality of it is that I'm not going to put my energy into that, because where you source your energy feeds that negative energy even more.
Yep. You feed the.
So like I just choose to not feed into any of that. I don't watch the news. I don't get into politics. I won't talk about it. I won't even go back and forth with in religion. I will listen to you about your religion and your beliefs, and I go, that's so amazing for you. And if
Mhm.
they're open to listening to my side of it, cool. And I will be more than happy to share my side. If you are not, I'm not going to argue it with you,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to put that. I don't care, because your opinion of me is none of my business. And I don't care what you think about my beliefs
Right. And
or
at the
who
end of
I
the day,
am. Like, I don't care, because at the end of
and
the
at the
day,
end of the day, yeah.
the only person that I have to live with is me.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't care
second.
about their
And that's
beliefs.
a game changer. So I want to change it up a little bit. Sam, how freeing was it for you to truly just step into who you were? Like, what did that feel like when you were able to just go, screw everyone, I'm going to do what I want?
I mean, you see this smile, like I'm smiling more. Like I'm literally, like I said, being able to just dive into my childhood trauma, release the past. Yeah, my mom said what she said. There was reasons behind it. It all stems back to her beliefs and her upbringing. I understand her story more. I understand my dad's story more. But just choosing to let those things go and asking myself, okay, what do I want to do now with my life? I'm in charge of my life now. I'm not living with mom, dad, whatever. I get to create the life that I want. And so just knowing that I had the power to choose freed me. And going through all the healing, like I'm happier in my transition, because transition saved me, but it wasn't the answer. Healing was a part of it. So now I can say I'm happier in my transition
Ooh,
because
that's beautiful.
I've been doing the healing work.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, healing the trauma and healing what you went through, being able to go back and say why, and so that's actually what I do, is I help people to go back and go, why do you do the things that you do?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And questioning, being able to say, I wonder what my parents' story was on that, right? That's a game changer when you can start stepping back from your own trauma and the things that someone else has done to you and say, where were they coming from in that? Because that's where forgiveness comes in, right? We talk about, everyone talks about in healing, forgiveness, and you hear over and over again, well, just forgive and it'll be okay. But like, there's more to than it's not just saying I forgive you. It's being able to take yourself out of that situation and say,
Yeah.
where is that other, where were they coming from? What was their story? What were they going through? Because I lived with a dad. My mom had cancer and my dad was angry. My dad was in a marriage he didn't want to be in. We were obligations to him. Not that he didn't love us, but we were obligations to him. And to be able to go back and say, well, of course he was angry. He was dealing with all of these things. That's where the forgiveness comes in, right? That's where even the healing for us comes in, is to be able to take ourselves out of the situation and make it, look at it from a different perspective.
Right. Right.
Right, because like you said, now I can look at my mom and say, I understand why she said those things, or not that it makes it okay, because
Right.
that is right, because we have to remember that's the other side of that, because someone's going to come back and comment on this somewhere and go, well, you're just disregarding, like, that it was hurtful, or no, I'm not. So
No,
I
not at
just
all.
want to throw that out there. It does
Right.
not
Thanks
make the
for throwing
comments
that out.
okay.
Yeah.
It does not
Yeah.
make your situation. It doesn't make it okay that those things were said. But what it does do is give you an understanding around it.
Yeah. It even gave me a deeper understanding of why my dad was on drugs and
Yeah.
was an alcoholic. Well, my grandfather was an alcoholic, and the things my dad saw. So, and that's what helped me forgive him. And like fast forward, my dad now lives with my wife and I. But if it wasn't for me going through my own healing and, like you said, taking a step back and learning both of their stories, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Especially with my dad, I grew up with him for some time until he got really addicted to crack back in the 80s. I don't know if you're familiar with the crack epidemic, but it was big. So
Oh yeah.
he wasn't in my life for 30 something years. Like drugs was his thing. That was his life. That was his choice. But it wasn't until he got diagnosed with throat cancer 5 years ago that he completely stopped. And then we reconciled almost 2 years ago. But like I said, if it wasn't for my own healing journey, and just desiring, because I had the desire to change.
Yeah.
I didn't want to continue to respond to the same things over and over. Like I was showing up the same way, like year in, year out, holding on to the same stuff. So I had the desire to change.
Yeah. And now you're able to respond instead of react.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Because you take that time to go, when we react to something, that is our trauma, right? When we just
Mhm.
instantly, to
Right.
something instead of going, hold on, let me digest that for a minute and allow myself to respond to it. Right. So now you get to come from a place of actually responding to a situation instead of the reaction to what's going on.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. But had I not, like I said, had I not wanted the desire, like once I started asking questions and I started seeking, I didn't know what it was going to look like, but literally, like doors started to open up. I started connecting with people. I met Jeff 2 years ago, and I met Max also in like a coaching container. So, like, just me wanting to change, like, I feel like it was the universe's way of I hear you. So I'm gonna place these people in your life, these people in your life, your coach in your life, your mentor, and that's literally what happened.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah. The universe answers our desires, right? When we truly, one way or the other, right?
yeah,
One way
yeah,
or the other, you know?
yeah. It does.
Yeah. When you start saying, these are the things that I want,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't order pizza and tell them what you don't want on it.
Because you'll get it.
I
You
was
knew
getting
I
ready
was
to
going
say
to
that
say
one.
it.
I was getting ready to say it.
It
I
works
was getting
either way.
ready to.
It does.
Well,
Yeah,
make sure that when you're putting out the universe, talk about the things that you want in your life and not the things that you don't want anymore, because you're going to get it back either way,
yep.
right? So when you're thinking of all the negative all the time, that's what
What you
you
do.
see, and that's what shows up all the time.
Yeah,
And so when you start putting out that positive, then that's what's available to you is positive things.
yeah. And when
Yeah.
when you are who you are, regardless of how you identify your orientation, like your vibe is gonna attract the right people. They're gonna see you for who you actually are.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm so blessed to now have you a part of my
oh,
world.
likewise.
I did. I
I feel
thought
like
that
we
you
need to have a reunion.
you you know you you are allowed to be on any show that I'm ever on. Sam, you're invited always. The only request
Okay.
I made, the only request I made of everyone but Heather was that you skip a week. We're gonna do these every week.
A week.
Just
Okay.
skip a week so
Every
that
week.
we can have some interesting different views. Other than that, there are 10 more or 9 more after tonight. Pick one. I would love to have you back. You have a really great perspective in general. You know, like I said, I don't. When I came up with this topic, the first thing I thought of was you. So it was the
Oh.
very first person I thought of.
Well, I hope that I helped out because I'm like, what? How am I gonna explain? Because there's really no guidebook. Like, there's really no one size fit alls. Like, everyone's journey is different.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of being a coach or a healer is being able, because I did my path on my own.
Mm,
I really like I did the therapy, but that's where I created my own, like what I do, no one else does. No one else does it because I created it. I did it myself because
mm,
I didn't feel like I fit with anything, and I didn't find anyone. Even through therapy, it made me aware of all kinds of things. What it
right.
didn't do is give me a way to release them or to organize them to heal them. Then I just felt like I was one big walking wound,
Mm,
right? And to the point where I didn't feel like I could hide it anymore. Right? That's when my true healing came in. Was when I was so wounded that I felt like I couldn't hide it from anyone. That anyone looking, not that anyone could tell, because no one could tell, but
right.
that's how I felt,
Mm,
right? Was that all people could see was just this cut up, wounded, gaping, wounded woman walking around, and then I'm like, okay, so how do I do this? And I created a way to do it. And then now I adapt that to help other people to find which way works for them
yeah.
to do the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow,
yeah,
that's powerful.
it truly is. I want to take a moment and just a couple moments to ask if anyone has any questions. one of the great things about this program is that it is live, and it is a way that we can
Yeah.
actually we have some amazing people on this panel, and you can ask questions if you have anything. If you've
Mhm.
had struggles with your identity, like being who you are, what struggles have you had? Is there anything we can help you with? And while we wait for that, because I know there's a slight delay.
Are you the only one that can see the questions?
Nope, you should be able to see them under comments on your right.
Oh, I guess I should click. We both reach up and click them. That's hilarious.
Um,
I'd like to take action so that I'm not doing this against my values.
yeah, that's so powerful. Here, like I can actually pull it though. Hey, look at that. I can
There
show
we
it.
go.
I'm not doing this against my values. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
you
that
take action around what works with your values. That would be a great. I mean, that's a hard statement to kind of answer without actually having an in-depth conversation about what actions would you like to take and how do we adapt that to the values that you're already holding.
yeah, or
Right.
being really clear on what those values look like.
Yeah.
And also know you can change your values at any time
Yes.
and your beliefs. Like when I realized I had no clue that I could change my values and my belief. I thought they were stuck, like I was stuck with them.
Yeah.
That's
And I didn't
powerful.
have any.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, yeah, growing up and I didn't, like,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
didn't. My dad grew up Catholic, my mom was really strict Methodist, and then my mom was a teen mom. My mom got pregnant with my sister, and then they got married because that is what you did in the 70s, you know what I mean? And my dad joined the military, and then they just went, "We're not gonna do that to our children," which in a sense is beautiful of allow them to find the faith that they want. But what we didn't have was any guidance in that faith, right? And so in finding that faith. And for a long time, I kind of went the pagan Wiccan route of which I guess would be still the closest thing that I could say if someone said you had to pick something. Um, you know, um, but yeah, I had to find what that belief system was and that faith was for me individually and what that looked like for me. And now I have a daily ritual that I do every day. And if I don't do it, I can tell the difference. And it's unique to me. And I encourage people to do the same thing. And I have no issue sharing my ritual, but I always say, do what feels right to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
That's
funny.
true.
I added lighting a candle every day because of Heather, because it's part of her daily ritual. Is she lights a candle, and I said, you know what? That's a really great way
Yeah.
to focus. Okay, I'm working now. I'm gonna light a candle. That means I'm at
I
work.
have my candle right here.
I
It
love
says,
it.
it says epiphany on it. Wait.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, epiphany.
Mine says, but first, coffee.
First cop, love it. Yep. That's my sentiments too every morning. I
And
can't
and
talk to you
truly,
without
before this candle gets lit, there is some coffee. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Heather, I think, has taught me before coffee. It's not a pleasant thing. It's really not.
Thank you for having me on. I feel like this discussion was perfect. This is right up my alley.
I told you there was no one else. You were the very first person I thought of.
Yeah, you did. You did. I'm like, what the hell is Jeff gonna ask me?
You know, I'm going to ask you to talk about you. Just have some conversation.
No, this was good. This was good.
Let
Yeah.
people know, what are you doing this week? What are you up to this week, this month? And how do people get in touch with you?
Me or Heather?
You.
We start.
Oh,
You're the guest. She's not a
well,
guest. She's a co-host.
I'm actually starting school next Monday. I'm going back to get my master's for clinical counseling. I
Beautiful.
desire to open up my own practice to help people navigate around their identity. I didn't need to go back to school. I wanted to. So that's another thing is like, I listened to that inner voice. Like, this is for me. I'm going back for me as well as so I could help millions of people. Yeah, so I'm heading back to school next Monday, and we'll see how things go. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come.
How about you,
That's
Heather? What's going
beautiful.
on for you today, this week?
Oh
How
my
do people?
goodness. So I will be live actually here in a little while on TikTok. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Living Oracle Wellness across the board. You can find me on everything Living Oracle Wellness. That's who I am. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I pull Oracle cards on TikTok from 7:30 Pacific Standard Time for a few hours, depending on how many people are in there. On Wednesday nights, I do a color and chat or create and chat where I go live. I usually color and we talk about healing and different subjects, whatever comes up. I talk about my journey. I talk about different ways to heal. A couple weeks ago, it was manifesting and how to really manifest and how to get into that manifestation space because we hear about that all the time. I give my personal opinion and whatever anyone wants to chat about. I do soul sessions. So there's links in my bio everywhere. If you follow me, where you can book soul sessions where we start to really get down to business as to why you do the things that you do when you want to break the cycle and how to unpack your baggage and get rid of it energetically and allow you to live life however you want to live it authentically to where you don't feel like you have to answer to anyone.
Love it.
Living everything Oracle Wellness, living Oracle Wellness everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes.
It's so living. It's
I'm,
at living every.
Yeah, at Living Oracle Wellness.
I'm so bad. I forgot. I have a podcast. I forgot to. Why did I forget to mention that? Thanks, Jeff, for reminding me.
This is why I'm here.
I do have a podcast. It's Be You Do You podcast. So if you have a story you want to share about how you've overcome, obstacles and challenges, I'd love to have you on my podcast. I also have Be You Do You merchandise. It's really a movement, yeah. And then I do coaching on the side as well around identity, beliefs, values. So if you're ready to F everyone in their opinions and really live life on your own terms, I can help you with that. What else? What else I got going on? Yeah, I'm open to share. I definitely want to make 2024 the year that I share my story more. Get out of my head about that. Like I said, Be You Do You is not just for the world, but it's for me too. It's a constant, it's a reminder. So definitely looking to connect with some dope human beings.
Definitely. And on the show notes page, I believe the links for I believe somewhere his website's there. I'm almost positive I put it there. And
Okay.
Heather's, I know, is in there somewhere along with mine.
Okay.
Guys, I get to tell you, we are tackling drama this year. We are getting rid of it. It's Drama No More 2024. That's the theme. That's what we're getting rid of. And what we're going to this Thursday is the very first workshop. We're going to kind of start our journey of like really what is drama? How do we cause it? How do we find it? How does it show up in our lives? And how do we get the fuck rid of it? Because it's time. It's time.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about this, guys. I have never felt so good about a workshop, and I do workshops like every month, and this one is it really is going to be really special. So you guys got to be here 7:00 on. If you go to trueawesomelife.com, it actually directs you directly there. I've never done that before for a workshop. Like this is like the very. I think it's going to be the thing that is going to change your life more than anything else I've ever done. So be there.
Do I get your notifications? I want to make sure I'm notified because I feel like it's hit or miss.
On Facebook, it's going to be hit or miss. I did send an email out, which you should have got because you are on my email list. But it had everything I did this week, which included So this week I started my week very busy, and did something with the Jedi Order. We did the complete, clear, and create, where we did our personal mantras, and we looked at last year and actually completed the year. There's a process to do that. I kind of combined a few things that I normally do, which was beautiful for the beginning of the year. And it's my new format that will be my first of the year format from now on, because it actually worked well. Then I had yesterday we had the Creative Nomad show. I had Hood Buddha on. You know Hood?
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, yeah, I know her. She's fabulous. She is.
Yeah.
And then today we're here. Thursday is that. Come back next Tuesday. We are going to be talking about purpose. It's purpose next week.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. As of right now, it's gonna be me and Heather. I'm working on a couple people to have them come on, but it might be just me and Heather having a conversation. On purpose. What does purpose really look like? Because I think that a lot of people have it wrong.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune in on that one, because that was my thing for a while. Like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? I think you're right. People do have it wrong.
Well, yeah, because I think we're told that preemptively on this, because we'll be talking about next week. But to start that little discussion off, give you a little tidbit for next week. We're told that everyone should be the CEO, and that you have to have this huge drive and purpose in life, right? And that would be to be successful, to be, all those big words that no one ever really defined for us. They just told us that we needed to be that way.
Yep. So we go chasing.
Yeah, we go chasing something we don't even know what the definition is.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that's
a little
funny.
preemptive to next week's.
It's just to give you guys a preview. It's not something to be; it's something to feel and to give away.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's something to feel and give away.
Something to feel and give away.
Not be. Okay.
It's not be. In my obviously this is my opinion, but the more I learn, it's different than what we think, and that's why people get so confused, because we are told, this big huge, we need to be successful, we need to be this, and your purpose is to be. And once you start saying,
some people are actually told what their purpose should be.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
You should do this, you should do that, right? You should.
Or something to feel and give away.
It's something to feel and give away. And I have a method on how I kind of come up with it. Maybe we'll play with it next week. We'll see how it goes.
I want to tune into that.
You never know what's going to happen here.
You never know.
I don't know.
I got to tune in.
You got to tune in for this one. It's going to be really, really interesting. I think that you guys, I appreciate both of you, like really, truly. I know that a lot of hosts will say that, they're so thankful for their guests, and but honestly, these are two of the people in my life that really do make a real big difference. I talk to them. Heather, I talk to twice a day. Or I feel, and when I don't talk to her twice a day, I'm like, wait a second. I messaged her because I was busy the other morning. And I'm like, I didn't say good morning. Something's wrong. Like, let me stop.
Yeah, it was like 5 p.m. or something. And he goes, I am so sorry. I did not say good morning to you.
And we didn't talk the whole day. And it was like, wait. That didn't work for me. Wait, let me make sure. And Sam, I talk to at least once a month. I check in, like and he inspires me all the time. So reminds me to
little me, come on.
Little old you. Little old 6
I receive it. I'm learning to receive. Okay, compliment. I receive it. Okay, I take it.
Yeah, it's hard to receive.
Yeah.
Because we're told that's a bad thing, right?
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
supposed
It's
to be anxious.
selfish to want to hear that, or and it's not about validation, but to be open to receive how other people view you. That's
Yeah.
something I work on all the time too. People are like, "You've changed my life," and I'm like, "What?"
What? Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
you shower me.
that's
Shower me.
part of our purpose is to give that away. And
Is giving it away.
Yeah.
Is giving it away.
yeah,
All right, folks, we're out. We're actually 15 minutes over because I knew that it was never going to be an hour. This call, I told Heather that earlier today. I'm like, my big problem is going to be trying to keep it to an hour. What? Like, I'm not worried about what we're going to say or anything. I'm just worried that we're going to not
We're
be
gonna
able to
go
shut
over.
up. Right. Thank you for watching. JJ is also an amazing, actual, a beautiful human being. I get to talk with her every Saturday, so I love her dearly.
yeah.
And
Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today.
thank you. And if you are watching this on a pod, you're listening on a podcast, in the Freedom Creators United community in Facebook is where you can ask the questions. So join us next week, ask these questions, and know that each and every one of you are loved. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you guys all next week.
Love you.
Love you. Bye. Thank you, Jeff.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Heather.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.